Good morning for your Tuesday morning, August the 4th, says the computer, live stream update. Dr. Barton Jr. coming to you here from the soggy Northeast here in Delaware. On the back of some hurricanes, the tail end of some hurricanes. We're supposed to get 6 inches of rain today. It looks like we've already got 5.5 of them, but we haven't. A lot more yet to come. Our stream is almost overflowing in the backyard. So hope you are staying dry and safe wherever you are. And I'm trying to get our chat box up so I can see who's in the room this morning. So let's see what it's looking like. Oh, I'm all the way over in the corner. I'll step up into the middle just to say hi for just a moment, and we'll see what's going on. Looking at the room. Hey, good morning. Not a big deal here. Hey, John, good morning, everyone that's here. We have folks, wow, from Taiwan. So it's certainly probably not the same weather patterns happening over on the other side of the other side of the planet. So we were looking forward to talking about a whole bunch of things today. Lots of earnings still going on. We have several different things happening here, and some really interesting things going on with our technical chart behind us, which we're going to look at. But the first thing let's do, let me jump out of your way here so we can be able to take a look at our agenda for this morning. Let me jump over here so we can look at what we're going to be talking about. There we go. So we're going to be talking, as always, about the state of the market. We have had a breakout out of that third triangle. We'll look at it on the charts in just a minute. And we're coming up to the last of the intermediate resistance lines. What's that mean, the last one? Well, the next one is the all-time highs from February. We've been talking about that for several weeks, that the market's breakouts were going to take us there. And so we're taking still all the lines, the support and resistance lines have truly been our guide through this whole post-coronavirus rally, and they will continue to be. We'll look at them in depth in just a few moments. We still have the same narrative, the virus news and news out of the new Cold War with China competing against the stimulus packages, and we'll have another point on those below. So we also going to talk about coronavirus, of course. We're going to talk about overnight news that has pushed the markets down just a bit. Some news on the TikTok deal, some back and forth there. We got to look at those gold and silver charts again, of course. And we had some news come out also overnight about Congress still being a long way away. The Republicans and the Dems still a long way away from getting any sort of agreement on what a next stimulus package might look like. Some earnings to talk about, and then we will take time at the end to look at your stocks from a technical perspective, and we might be able to pull up some dark pool data to see what's happening in the institutional dark pools, where 42% of the market trades that we retail traders don't get to look at until it is posted later. So with all of that said, let's jump back up here. I'm going to jump to the other corner. So just in case we get some data that comes down into the bottom part of the hard right edge of the chart, you'll still be able to see it. And let's take a look and see what's going on. Now I'm going to make a couple of, we'll start with the really big chart here, and we can see what's happened. We've had these three since way back at in mid-June, the first third of June. We had a very violent sideways box trading into a very day-to-day sideways box where we went up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and then out. So a very up and down sideways box there. And then here we've gone up, down, up, tried to go back down, and then busted out of this baby on Monday on the heels of those blowout earnings from Facebook, Amazon, and Apple last week. Google disappointed mildly. I'll have to say it was very mildly. So with 3 of those big 4 techs that reported so strong on Thursday, and with the antitrust hearings that we talked about last week being only slap on the wrist, maybe sound tough, but have no action plan to do anything about what's going on in the big tech world, the market's kind of brushed that off, and here we are approaching new levels. Let's see what those new levels are, because they're very, very important. I'm going to pull up one more thing so I can see what you folks have on up there. Okay, so we're saying voice is small. Sound, yeah, I've tried turning it all the way up. I think I can't have any more controls here. I've got something on my camera that might change. Make sure that it'll be up higher in a little bit while. But it looks like several people are saying they're having trouble hearing. So here's what we're going to do in an unprecedented move. I'm going to put right here. I'm going to put be right back, and I'll tell you why. While we're doing this, be right back. Be right back. All right, be right back. I'm going to crank this mic up, but I have to do it from a strange place. I've got to go all the way to my camera. See you in just a second. So I'm going to keep talking to you, because what happened was that they had a new change that they had to do on Varney last week, and I had to knock my mic down, and this will help. I had to knock my mic level down a little bit, so but it's not good for our other stuff, and now you will be able to hear me just fine, I'm guessing, at those levels. So that should be better. There we go, 15 seconds so everybody can hear me. Let me know if you can hear better now, everybody. That should have helped us out a whole bunch. So there we go. All right, I'm going to take off the be right back. We are back, and now we're going to talk about what's happening next after this big breakout going on here. Yeah, much louder. Good. All right, thanks, everybody. Yep, sorry about that again. When I was on Varney last Thursday, they were having some problems with the equipment. I've had this same level set on the camera microphone input for years, and they were just having some problems, asked me to tone it down because it was clipping for them. So all that behind us, let's talk markets, because we've got precious little time to talk about all the stuff we want to, and then to take a look at your stocks that you'd like to throw up on the board also. So here we go. Let's pull back now, and I promised you that last of the great resistance lines. It's like the novel Last of the Mohicans. I'm going to move this line up there so you can see up at the very top, we have here the all-time highs. There's one line, there's one resistance line before we get to the all-time highs. And if you look, there's a little stutter step right in here. And it looks about like this, and that's the next line. That's the only line between us and all-time highs, and it's just where we went up and tried to get through here, tried to get through here. Here it held for 4 days here before breaking through, stopped once on the way down. That line right there at 33, basically 50, 33.45 to 33.50 is the last line on our S&P chart before we get to all-time highs. Now, what can happen between now and then? A lot of things, but right now, as we have talked about in the battle between stimulus dollars and on the upside, and China and COVID news on the downside, right now the stimulus dollars are winning, and winning big. And that is going to be not only the continuing narrative, but the continuing outcome of the narrative as we drive toward the elections. There's no way the Democrats or the Republicans are going to say, let's do less stimulus heading into the elections. So you can guarantee that they are going to open up the full spigots of the government to try to win some votes going into those November elections. And this is going to continue to be the market narrative. all that we're going to have to watch out for are things like these little headline blips like we've got this morning that we'll talk about now. And we'll take a look at what's happening in those headlines. We talked about it earlier. Let's look at a couple of quickies here. That the narrative has changed a bit. I got to move back to the other side again if we're going to look at this chart. This will be the last time we look at it. So there we go. So the narrative has not changed. What has come up overnight, we have on the TikTok and the battle for the battle for technology issues between the U.S. So there's 4 different big fronts that the new Cold War is being fought on. We talked about this multiple times before, and I wrote an article on it and about the 6 China aggressions, but there's 4 fronts for the war. There's trade, there is the technology, espionage, and basically theft that's going on. That we'll call that separate. That was part of the trade negotiation, but trade is just how much tariffs, what we're doing there. The technology negotiations, the technology issues are around things like Huawei and what they're doing that people are worried that they'll use their equipment in 5G for surveillance and inside of other devices, inside of smartphones and other things. So that whole issue. Then, of course, there is the huge geopolitical issue around things like the South Sea, and then military issues, geopolitical South Seas. Let's talk about Hong Kong, and of course Taiwan, and what they're trying to do with Taiwan to impose, to draw them back into the Chinese Communist Party and impose mainland's will on Taiwan. And they like to do that in the next year. All those things going on are going to continue to drive headlines. And until we get over the hump and have a big, major disagreement between the U.S. and China, it's probably going to be that tit-for-tat Cold War heading into the elections. I can't see the White House or Congress wanting to get into a bigger blowout in that confrontation. Now, it's interesting about TikTok because you got to remember that there are lots of U.S. properties. So Trump had talked about shutting TikTok down in the U.S. And then, and people were going, oh, well, that would be terrible. But you've got to remember Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, there are many things that are illegal and shut down in China. So it's nothing new. But when Trump said it, it kind of had 2 groups, the hardliners that want to take a hardline stance with China and push back on all of their aggressions, all of their trying to be world beaters aggressions. They want to be at the top of the heap, and they are using many means, all means at their disposal to do that. Now, Microsoft said that they were interested in buying them. Trump said last night that there needed to be payments into the Treasury. It's not clear. Some people said he meant that to be Microsoft paying into the Treasury, but that wasn't what it was. Those people that had that analysis, I think, were wrong. I believe what the inference there was that China was going to have to make some payments if that transaction was going to take place of Microsoft buying TikTok. And China then came out with their statement that said it'll be like stealing from the Chinese people. So all of that's happened. That is why the market is down a bit this morning. Not down a lot, but down a bit. So lots going on in that Cold War with China. It's going to be one of the things that we all need to keep an eye on in watching what's happening to our dollars and our cents in the markets. So we're watching lots of things that are going to be pushing the markets. But right now, the big push is stimulus dollars plus the megatech successes that we've seen. They continue to attract all of that money. As a matter of fact, it's just incredible to look at where they are. So let's look at the Qs. 1, 2, 3, there's the QQQs making their 29th new all-time high just this year, just amid the COVID pandemic. And you can see why. You look at stocks like Apple and where they are. Wow. Amazon, who was already a wow, who was already this wow, and they are trying to get back up there. Yesterday they had a down day compared to the other mega techs, and you look at Facebook's up at 150, 250, and remember, they just withstood a boycott through July, and they basically brushed that off and said, yeah, didn't matter much, and that's what basically exactly what they said in their earnings report on Thursday, though in more politically correct terms, of course. So that is what is driving this market right now and will continue to drive this market in what's going on here, which is why I believe a test of the all-time highs in the broader index, the S&P 500 index, when we look at that, back to our S&P chart, the test of these all-time highs is not long off, because nobody is going to shut off the stimulus spigot between now and the elections. That's why the narrative is so important. Yes, there's little things happening here and there, little things like, oh, the economy and what the recovery's like, how many things are going to shut down, how many are schools going to reopen, all of those things that are dwarfed by the size of the stimulus money that's going to keep pouring into the market. That's why it's so important we always continue to talk about the narrative, because if we can understand that, we can see where the market is going to be heading. So with that up, we also wanted to look at a couple of other charts that are just pounding at the top of the page. And gold, there's the GLD, the ETF. So the tradable ETF for anybody with the stock market, with anybody with a stock brokerage account. And it is down just the teeniest bit, 30-40 cents this morning, but just hanging right at the top of the page. Now, why gold? Well, everybody's talking about fiat currencies and that, with all the money, all the fiat currency, all the new central bank interventions around the world, not just in the U.S., flooding the market with more paper money, making gold more valuable. Certainly there is some truth to that. But if you'll remember, back in 2008, 2009, we did not see the same thing happen with gold prices. A temporary blip where everybody had the same thesis, but then it didn't follow through. I think the biggest thing keeping gold up where it is right now is the uncertainty around the China Cold War, and that is going to continue. There's also a lot of uncertainty heading into the election. What's going to happen there? Are we going to get a Democratic sweep of the House of the White House and both houses of Congress? Or will the Republicans be able to pull off some magic, pulling a rabbit out of the hat basically now, based on poll numbers? And a lot of people believe that could be the unspoken voters that don't participate in polls very well and are hard to categorize. Will they come to the fore like they did in 2016? So lots of uncertainty about where things could be headed, but I believe those major uncertainties around trade, technology, geopolitical, and military with China are what's really keeping this market up here. The one that I've got my eye on very much is silver, because it went even more asymptotic, more parabolic. Now it's come up to the same line we drew last week. We drew this one for you last Tuesday. We've banged up against it 1, 2, 3, 4 days, this day below. Yesterday was a fifth day. Silver trading down now 7 cents, so not much. We're going to be right up there at these highs. And at some point in time, whenever you get the Eiffel Tower built, at some point in time, you got to build the other side of the Eiffel Tower. Markets abhor a parabola. I wrote a whole article entitled "Markets Abhor a Parabola" before, and that parabolic move will be answered at some point in time. We're going to keep our eye on silver and what it's doing there. And basically, it's interesting because what this says, the market's worried about uncertainty. That's what gold tells us, and what silver says, yes. And the market's also worried about missing out. There's a fear of missing out and a risk-on aspect. Even though we're worried about uncertainty, maybe we'll play uncertainty with the more volatile, with the higher growth precious metal silver. and that's what we're seeing in the markets there. So with all of that stuff, we talked about one other little piece of overnight news that helped to dampen the market was that the Congress, several members of Congress said they're still far apart on stimulus, on what they're going to do with specifically the $600 per week unemployment extension, which expired on last Friday, July 31st. So what they're going to do with that going forward is a major contention with Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, and the red side of the aisle, saying we don't want to disincentivize people to work. We got to get people back to work. And the blue side saying we've got to help the people that aren't working and put more money in and play to our constituency. So both sides with their ideological backgrounds kind of banging heads here, and where this will go, we still don't know. And one of the reasons the market has been dampened this morning. So let's talk real quickly about a bunch of earnings coming out this afternoon. The House of the Mouse is going to have earnings coming out, and you can see actually Disney has been in a volatility contraction here, and it will be interesting to see where they come out with the earnings. They're going to have one big bright spot. Disney Plus will continue to grow, continue to show good numbers, but the theme parks are going to be at issue. ESPN is going to be at issue, even though they've restarted basketball in a bubble and some of the other things that they're doing, Major League Baseball restarting, but then having to cancel series due to COVID. I don't think it's going to be pretty coming out of their biggest cash cow, ESPN. I think we're going to get bad news there, bad news out of the theme parks and cruise lines. So I think there's going to be one bright spot and a whole bunch of uh-ohs in the Disney report this afternoon. We have one of my favorite companies and one of the favorites in the dark edge trading project, our dark edge project trading room. ATVI yesterday hit another 100% profit target, second time. We've had a second trade where we've had 100% profit targets hit in ATVI. And this company, Activision Blizzard, the big gaming company, I believe that they may have a minor sell the news kind of aspect going on. We may get a minor, hey, things have been going great, but here's what's happening going forward. And that it's going to be good, but not fantastic. And we might get a tiny pullback, which is to be bought. Any pullback in Activision Blizzard is to be bought. Where ESPN is having trouble, I believe the esports franchises of Activision, that segment of their business, as well as just the gaming platforms, are continuing to thrive, not only survive, but thrive in this environment. Activision's a place you want to be on any pullback, and the earnings could give us one if they don't have absolutely blowout earnings, because we also have a couple of others today, but another one later in the week that I believe will be a sell the news moment. Look at that. It's almost just like Activision. Roku, the streaming box, they're hardware sellers, and they also do content. They also have their own streaming services, but they have been stay-at-home sweethearts, and they have been driven up into earnings. I believe Roku is going to be a sell the news earnings opportunity, meaning we've said all of buying the rumor, all this good news baked into Roku, and they'll give us good numbers, but not amazingly outstanding numbers. That'll give another pullback, and a pullback down to about this support level, probably be another great place to buy Roku, one of my good friend Bill Padalon's favorite stocks that he features in his private briefing. All right, let's look at, there's a few others. We'll talk about the speaking of Eiffel Towers, here's Nikola, Tesla's first name. So with their electric truck company, we were talking actually in one of our sessions right here when somebody brought up Nikola. I believe it was on this day, and I talked about Eiffel Towers again. When you build them up, they're going to come back down. And indeed, this one has come way back down. So it'll be interesting to see what they report, their earnings. And as what people are going to be looking at there is not what they have done, because they're just a new startup getting into ramping up production. It's what they're going to be talking about going forward that everybody is going to be focusing on here. And lastly, today, the other company reporting today that we need to know about is Beyond Meat. And Beyond Meat has been, when we were having packing house problems, meat packing house problems, that's when Beyond got another rocket underneath it, driving prices up. They have since pulled back. They're getting a lot more penetration into new areas, though. The Impossible Burger folks, the Impossible Meats people have been doing a great job at penetrating the restaurant market. And of course, that has been of less importance with restaurants closing. Beyond Meat starting to do a good job there. And I think this company's a long-term buy. Excuse me. They're a long-term buy, a long-term holding that you want to have. But you got to buy smart. You can't buy it when it's breaking out. This is not a breakout buy candidate. They're going to have this choppy data. This is choppy action that we're seeing here, up, down, up, down. This kind of choppy action is what we're going to see from this stock for a long time, till we get a handle, till we as a society get a handle on how we're going to treat meat substitutes. They've killed the flavor perspective, both Impossible and Beyond. The burgers just taste incredible. They really do. And I believe they've gotten that knocked. And now to jump over some of the other hurdles, this is going to be the future of protein, folks, and it's just who's going to win the battle. Probably both of them will come out the other side. They use different processes and different ingredients, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Buying these on pullback, so down in this area is not bad. If they get a little pullback on earnings, that would be great. Great to buy Beyond. So later in the week, we also have, we'll just talk about them quickly, and then we'll start looking at some of your names. Don't put them up yet because I can't see them. We also have, we've already talked about Roku. The other one that I wanted to talk about, although there's lots more earnings coming out, is Uber. You can see Uber can't get above its 200-day moving average. It's trying. It's right there. And I believe Uber is going to give us some more problems in their earnings report. I think all of their grand plans, they've had to pull back a little bit, although they're still trying to expand their food delivery kingdom. And I think that food delivery business is a long-term loss leader that's not going to help the bottom line for years. So that's going to keep Uber on a trajectory that looks a lot like the current trajectory, sideways. I think that's going to keep Uber on a sideways trajectory for a long time. They're still putting money in and trying to grow without looking at short-term earnings. It's a good long-term strategy. I think Uber, if you look back 10 years from now, you're going to want to own Uber. Just be sure to buy it at good places on pullbacks, not breakouts. All right, there's everything I had for you this morning. Let's look at some of the stocks and things that you want to look at. And let's shut this down, and I'll get back over to there we go. I'll get back over here. Let's talk about any kind of things you would like to talk about. What stocks do you want to look at out there? We got somebody that has mentioned, let's see. First, we'll look at VIX. So somebody's looking at, we'll look at, here's the VIX index. So the volatility index, and this morning it's trading up a bit. The VXX is trading down a little bit pre-market, or it was, let's see, a half an hour ago when we came in. Yeah, it's still down 11 cents. It will most likely catch up, and it's a short term, a little bit disconnected. We talked about this in the Dark Edge project yesterday, how it's difficult for these exchange-traded funds, exchange-traded notes like the VXX to model what's going on in the index, and because it becomes a derivative of a derivative of a derivative. So there is, and I believe VIX is one of those that could pop on headline risk or anything else, and we could get one of these easy quick little pop moves like we've had before. Any of these little pop moves could happen at any time based on coronavirus and China headline risk. Okay, we got a bunch more out there. I had Square on my list to talk about. So let me look at that one. Somebody popped that one up. I had Square on the list. Absolutely love the payment space. Visa, MasterCard, Square. I believe we're looking for good things coming out of Square in their earnings this week. I believe they post earnings Wednesday, but it might be Thursday. I don't have that date right in my mind, but they either post Wednesday or Thursday of this week. And look what happened to their close cousin last week, PayPal. PayPal had blowout earnings and had a great pop last week. I'm expecting similar numbers from Square. I love this space, and it's tough. This is one place that's tough to buy on a pullback because we've gotten so precious few. So this one is already, look, it's a breakout candidate. It just broke out yesterday. Let's put a horizontal line across there. It just broke out yesterday. So loving to look at what's going on there with Square going into their earnings. We've had several other names thrown out. Let's look. Yeah, we talked earlier about Lockheed Martin. That's one that somebody put up. We've talked earlier about them. I like Lockheed Martin. It traded up just a day or two last week. I continue to like what Lockheed is doing. I believe buying this is another one you can buy on dips. This is a safety kind of stock that you can tuck away in your portfolio, and it's had on this pullback is not it's not quite at a very good support level yet, but back down to 360 would be a great place to target getting in there. All right, so Etsy coming out as an earnings play. I believe Etsy is a strong sell the news candidate. That ETSY, apparently I got my ETSY. There we go. Got my numbers. Look at this thing, just a rocket ship for them. Has their earnings already came out? Whoever wrote that up, let's see. I can't remember if Etsy's earnings already came out or if they're coming up. I saw them on the scanner. Yeah, August 5th, so they're coming out tomorrow. Huge breakout, obviously, here for Etsy. Great breakout there and a clean break and go. I believe this is another sell the news candidate on earnings, not long term, because what's been happening with a lot of these stay-at-home, work-from-home stocks is that we get these big buildups, and here's another one. Here's a parabolic one, and then the earnings have to be amazing, have to be astounding to live up to all the expectations that have already been built into price. If we don't get that with Etsy, I believe we could get a pullback, and then for the adventurous, it could be a pullback for another try it along, because the Robinhood traders love this. This is another day trading darling, so that is certainly a possibility there. Let's see what else we've got going on out here. Lots of other names. Sorry, we can't get to all of them, folks. Some major techs. We'll hit that one. Microsoft. Oh, this is one pulling my hair out after Friday. We had a signal trigger for the 10-minute millionaire insider sent out the email to buy Microsoft calls, and by the time the calls hit, here's what happened. The calls hit, the email hit in the afternoon, and it didn't go out till probably right about 2:30, and we missed the big move up. So loved the call, loved the signal. But I believe in Microsoft's pulling back today on the back and forth about TikTok. It popped yesterday on the TikTok news over the weekend. And look, Microsoft is amazing, continues to be one of the great companies out there, continues to just print money with Azure. They have the new Xbox platform coming out, the new hardware platform coming out this fall. So many good things going on Microsoft. I don't know that I love it up at 215. It's going to pull back, open around 213. but anytime you can get Microsoft on a little bit of a pullback, you want to have that in your portfolio. It also throws off a little bit of a dividend, unlike some of the other big techs. So so let's see here. Let's go. Let's look at what else. Let's see. We have a couple others. Apple after the, I think into the split. I think this thing is just on, there's Apple on the 30-minute. Let's go back to the long term. It's hard not to say buy Apple because they've got, let's see what they do with iPhones this fall. With the iPhone 12, most people think they're going to call it. I believe they're going to do something just innovative enough to keep the iPhone franchise grow, a cash cow, just killer. Continue to provide cash while wearables and services continue to grow. I just think Apple, it's tough to bet against them. It's tough to buy them, though, at $435. I think all of this big run has been a combination of they killed earnings. They crushed earnings beyond everything that we thought. I think their revenues were supposed to come in at $53 billion. They came in at $57. So they, I mean, that's just a huge beat for Apple. And I don't know that I like them right at the top of the page here, though. That's you'll hear that as a consistent issue. For me. We do buy some breakouts, but this one's already broken out and then some. I'm just glad I was able to. Again, I own some Apple, I own some Amazon, I own some Facebook, those things that we talk about. But I bought them all years ago and continue to hold them. So that's what we're looking at. It's getting close to open time. We'll take a few more of these. We'll look at some things. Here's a Vax company, a biopharma, who has done the same traditional looks like a lot of biopharmas, up and then down. So you've got a congestion area here. If you think they have more upside, you think some funding's going to come their way, yeah, you could buy them down here. But on all these, when you build one side of the Eiffel Tower, be sure to get out before it comes all the way back down the other side. Now, if you bought back in here, you're still real happy. That's all good. But if you get in and you ride this ride up to 12, don't ride the ride all the way back to 6. Just use good common sense there. So let's see, what else do we have? We have MYOK. Let's see what's going on with MYOK. That's another one of those that looks like another biotech company, Myocardia. I'm just guessing by the name. That's not a name I follow, whoever put this out there. And we could look at a couple of different ways to take a look at this one. It's probably not going to be a big institutional stock. So let's do one last one. So this one, we're in a sideways box here. Whoever put this one up for Myocardia, we're in a sideways box here. This isn't the company that makes Cardia, the device that goes on Apple Watches, is it? Somebody could illuminate me there. But so there is a company that makes a Cardia brand. But if we look at this going sideways here with the one peak, that's a long sideways box. So they're just waiting for more news. So technically they're above the old levels here, so that's a good thing. But I don't have a lot there to technically love about what's happening with Myocardia. And if I looked in the dark pools, we're not going to see anything new. But let's do that as one last little treat here. Let's look at what's going on in the dark pools with another stock. Somebody put up Nvidia. That's a more heavily institutional name. So breaking out, Nvidia just killing it. Everybody wanting to upgrade their gaming cards for stay at home. So let's take a look and see what's happening on Nvidia. If we look at what happened yesterday for their dark pool data. Let's first look at how many big trading blocks went off yesterday. You can see we had one 300,000 share block and a couple of other blocks that went off. two of them around. There's one post-market trade, so somebody bought in 38,000, went into the dark pools, an institution to buy 38,000 after the market, just after the market closed. And we had some early activity also just after the market opened. So some interesting block data going on there. Let's see if we can see what the directional, what size the options trades were in Nvidia yesterday. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, it's right before the market opens. We always have a little bit slower time retrieving things. So here's interesting, not huge blocks. So, well, that's a $21 million option controlling 49,000 shares. So that's a big options block trading in Nvidia. In the positive, we got a couple negatives, couple more positives, negative, positives. So it looks fairly balanced, maybe a slight bias to the upside on a big upside day. So that's a good thing. If you think about Nvidia breaking out during a big breakout bar that broke out above old resistance, and during that breakout bar, people aren't going, I'm going to sell this, I'm going to take profits. They're instead kind of mixed. I'm buying some people are selling. That is a good thing, probably fuel for Nvidia from here. So lots of information there. We got 3.5 minutes until the markets open. We'll all go get ready for that event, and glad to have you here on Tuesday morning for our pre-market update. It's Dr. Barton Jr. thanking you for being here. CJ will be back with you in the morning. Glad everybody could be on. We'll shut down the video stream and I'll click a few words in the chat box if you want to hang around there. So thanks for being here, everybody. Stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless you.